Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are here today. Oh my, that mic is hot. It is hot today. It's been hot. Look at this farmer's tan we've developed here. Look at, oh my, we almost had a really, well, I guess we're getting burned on that side. The window side's a little darker. You know, that's how you could tell you got some miles on the road, is when the window side is a little bit darker. And even on this side of the neck, you know, the window side. Let's see. Oh, the redneck stays true, ladies and gentlemen. And the redneck stays true for a lot of people, including, I guess, what do we call it? RSJ? I know they call him Ricky Stenhouse Jr., but, you know, you got RTJ, Ricky Thornton Jr., who, you know, we've been touting the mantle here for about 10 plus years. In my opinion, I see Ricky Thornton Jr. as like a Kyle Larson just in the fender world, but the fender world has a little bit more respect for their regular drivers, so they're icons and stuff. We're going to get into all that, but at the end of the day, how about everything that has been happening here in the racing world? We got some exclusive footage on a topic that apparently no one's letting go away. And by the way, we do have a different background here. It is just a plain white background. We are in a interesting hotel, let's just say the least. I don't even want to say threw the bacon account out the window, but we pretty much did. So links in the description, PayPal, Venmo, all the ways to support the show directly. There are some new people at the top right of the screen. Of course, dirtcrowd.com up there right now. Go check them out, dirtcrowd.com. To support your favorite race car drivers directly. A lot of names on there. Of course, Danny Sims Jr. just being added here recently. But if you want to support the Chaz, you like the content that is here, I just have a feeling like pretty much everyone else in their right mind would have aborted on everything that we're doing here. But it's Indy 500 week once again. We didn't get to do any lives yesterday. We were out Uber Eating, throwing some, slinging some healthy food. You know, we declined the McDonald's deliveries. Only healthy food we deliver here on the Chaz. We don't support obesity. So anyway, that's funny. But if you want to join the support for the channel, for the content, extremely helpful if you could go down there and directly support, of course, the memberships of the channel. Y'all have been added up here to the top. These are two new names up there right now, Jesse Weaver and Bixby Horn, just jumping on to the membership of the channel. I believe it's like $1.99 to support monthly. But, of course, direct support is always best for me, particularly right now. Just how YouTube and everything works, it always is a month delayed. So even the video we're working on right now, we won't see anything, any kind of help or support or I guess it would be fruits of the labor until the end of June. So if you want to join the support, very important time right now to go down there. We're putting in all the work we can over here. We're working as hard as we can, but definitely just don't want to abort mission and go 9 to 5. And I feel like, you know, this is a 24-hour gig that we do here with the Chaz, and it's been building and had all this momentum and work and effort and up and down the roads, those who have followed for years. And I just feel like to abort mission and to go get a regular, you know, $150,000 a year job, I got plenty of skills that could do that, and managing businesses and all this other stuff and marketing and branding and all this stuff. I could go do that for some regular company. Heck, a fishing company wanted me to come and do some stuff. And I was like, man, if I go do this fishing company deal for, you know, the 6-figure mark, yeah, it would be easier. Financial stress is gone. But at the same time, I would be aborting on all of you who have watched all these years. I'd be aborting on all the work that has been put in. And I just don't want to throw that away. But anyways, links in the description to join the support. We are grinding and hustling as much as we can over here on the Chaz personally to make things happen. A lot of people, and another aspect, we could just, you know, go rent a room and sit here and talk to you every day, but we like to go and live. We like to go experience things, interact with people, see people eye to eye, have relationships, and that sometimes, you know, takes funding, and I do it as much as I can, but we do it to the extremes, ladies and gentlemen. We do it to the extremes. We go here, we go there. Somebody says, hey, I want to meet you this weekend. We drive across the country and make it happen. So regardless, Links in the description to join the support. Now, on the other end of it, we did get here to the Indy 500, or Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that is. Indy 500, of course, this Sunday. And this was my first experience at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I've been to an IndyCar race down in Texas several years ago. I really didn't think it was all that, personally. I think Texas is a boring racetrack no matter what class is on it. That's the big asphalt track down there. But let me tell you something. When I got to this Indy 500, or this qualifying pole day is what I got to. I got there about 4 o'clock, drove all the way from Sharon, woke up at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, drove all the way to Indianapolis from Sharon back to, hey, we want to do it, we go and do it. Anyways, the atmosphere that I experienced, and I know somebody's seen my shorts and stuff, or YouTube shorts and TikToks and all this about this topic. I've never experienced that at a live event, really. Maybe a concert when the star comes onto the track, but not as repetitive. Of course, I was in turn 1 where the cars enter the corner and everybody's like, oh, how does it feel to see the cars enter that fast? To me, guys, it's more intense to sit at the top of 3 and 4 and see a field drop into the top at Eldora, for instance, on the fence, wide open. I mean, or standing in turn 1 at Port Royal to see the A-main take off and them just ride the boards. Let me just say, from the racing action on the track, seeing those Indy cars enter turn 1 at 220, 230, that really wasn't nothing special to me. It didn't wow me at all. It looked very controlled. I saw somebody say on a topic we're going to discuss today, you know, they get on iRacing and they can make laps in cup cars and Indy cars, but if they try to get on a track in a sprint car, they can barely make a half lap. And that's kind of the intensity that I'm talking about. It just looks, and apparently pretty much is, that much harder, and all sighing, looking at it, a little bit more intense to me to see those things in person. The thing that was so shocking for me was the interaction of the fans, how important it seemed like every person was in this whole entire scenario. Now, some of these people, I know their names, but I don't know of them, like Will Power. When I knew who Will Power was, watched him for years, like a lot of people have in IndyCar racing. But I didn't know that he was from Toowoomba, you know, and this Scott McLaughlin, he's a sheep person from New Zealand, but don't really know about him much. By the way, we are going to be having a IndyCar insider on the show tonight. So if you haven't, I know a lot of people are tuning in to the Indy racing because of Kyle Larson, but we're going to be basically having a person on to go down the guys of the field, the main hitters, some of the other guys, some of the behind the scenes, some of the dirt on some of these. Apparently some of these guys are some dickheads behind the scenes. Apparently, we're going to have a guy on later tonight that's going to tell us all about that. And hopefully, potentially, before the end of the week, we're going to be having, potentially, crossing fingers, Paul Tracy is going to be joining the Chaz on here live. Now, if we get that show to happen, I don't know if they're going to be able to survive. I feel like the show tonight's going to rattle up the Indy world because the Chaz, somebody said, Chaz, you're just like Robin Miller. Well, Batman's in town. You know, I'm not saying I'm better than Robin Miller, but I'm just saying that's soliloquies. But anyway, so we're going to be having that show later tonight. But back to the experience at Indy, I just hadn't really experienced every car that comes out. People are going nuts. Every time a lap hit a certain marker, a guy turned a lap, they were cheering. Every time this happened, that happened. When a guy got a little wiggle off the corner, they're like, oh, everybody was in the show. It was just very impressive to see that. You know, I've been at Knoxville, you know, basically, here's how to sum it up. Does everybody remember how crazy the crowd went at Knoxville when Jason Johnson and Donnie Schatz were going at it and he won the race and stuff? That's how it was almost with every car coming out onto the track, every time a lap was turned, every time something happened, the fans were in it. They were like in the event. It was like a football game or something. Every time a point was scored or a field goal or change of defense to offense, they were just so involved. And it wasn't even the 400,000 person seating deal. You know, they had the seating areas there kind of segmented and enter 1 and 2 for the lower levels. You had the upper levels, I believe, down the straightaway. But it was just so impressive to me, to see people into the event so much, and a lot of people could say like, "Oh, well, Kyle Larson," and I'll say this right now. I was listening to a lot of the stuff before going to Indy, and every time Kyle Larson did something on the broadcast, there was a cheer. You know, the crowd yelled. I'll tell you this right now, and I know that Indy's trying to make Kyle Larson a big deal because there's going to be a lot of people tuning in just because he's involved. But I feel like that is somewhat falsified in a way, because when I was there, Kyle Larson got some cheers, but it kind of was just as normal as everyone else. The Rossi guy had the biggest cheer of anyone, and everyone else kind of, all the other parties involved kind of got the same kind of cheer of Larson. So they just didn't crank up the crowd cheers for the other guys. But the other guys, these people, like I'm saying, were involved into this. And I don't know, do I get into this topic? I said we're going to have Paul Tracy on here potentially. I guess we got to get real with some subjects. Another thing that happened, another thing that I noticed or engulfed into this situation was those in attendance. Now, for the dirt track racing world, I'm gonna try to make this make sense for some of y'all, but there was a lot of diverse people there. I felt like I was in the normal world for once. There were women at the racetrack that were very attractive, extremely attractive, involved, cheering in the show. And obviously, when we get on this topic about having all these people involved in different segments of society, dirt track racing is doing some elements, but I just feel like we're lacking in societal awareness, period. And those in management are doing, in my opinion, whoever's directing this dirt thing, they're doing it wrong. They're not trying to break that barrier of being in the minds of average day people. We're going to get on a subject about that very soon. And I honestly thought of, when I saw all this, a topic that I just recently had at Kokomo, where we were talking about Buddy Kofoid and the other driver, and the behind the scenes aspect of superstar race car drivers in dirt track racing and female interaction. And I was sitting there saying, like, you know, we had Spike on here and he was defending the actions of so-called individual of potentially, you know, getting with other drivers' girlfriends and this, that, and the other. And it's like, here's the deal, guys. And Spike made some points. He's an alpha male, and this is how alpha males act. And I think about, if there's anyone to blame for that scenario in an eggshell, is this a horned dog, or is this a starving individual for female attention? In the dirt world, for instance, there's not a lot of there's not a crowd like I saw at Indy of very attractive females just walking around on the grandstand side of things and on the pit side. The abundance of opportunity is there. Whereas in the dirt world, if you're walking around as a 6.5, you're an 8. You know, and there's a lack of involvement for people who are a superstar driver to have a just single, regular, average day person walking around who's very attractive to get attention from. And it seems like sometimes the only attractive ones that are showing up are brought in by, guess what? One of these other drivers who potentially have very well-financed backgrounds, and they met them at some, you know, golf course or bar or something like that, and they brought them to the track. They weren't already at the track. And it's honestly and I'm not trying to say this in that way, but I mean, heck, I mean, if one of the girls in the grandstand side of Indy wanted to get with one of the superstar drivers of the IndyCar series, I mean, pick from the litter. I'm just saying, guys. So there's a lack of numbers. And I'll tell you this. That situation where this guy's taking that girl and that girl, if there was actually potentially somebody or an abundant of a selection of attractive women to even just talk to, this situation may not be occurring. So I'm not trying to say this, the situation that I'm referring to, those who know, isn't, I'm not saying it's happening righteously. I still believe there should be some kind of moral code for men, because men are the leaders. And when women see men, not having loyalty and certain structures of society on how to act or how to be a hoe or not be a hoe. They follow the same lead, so we're leading them in that direction. I think that's a real societal issue. We're out here being, why do you hear it all the time when women talk about, getting around and all that? Men are glorified for having multiple partners, blah, 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 blah. It's very true. It's very true. So I still think the moral code should be involved. But if there's anyone to kind of blame for that scenario happening, it's a lack of attendance in diversity at our racing events in the dirt track racing world. Because I guarantee you, if that crowd of people that I saw there at the Indy 500 was at our dirt track racing events, as far as diversity between males, females, different ethnicities, you wouldn't have that scenario happening because there would be options to pick from. Like, I experienced this yesterday in doing my little Uber around here. I was used to doing Uber in Des Moines, and there's not really, there's restaurants, there's Uber in Des Moines, but it's not very frequent. So anytime something pops up, I have declined the McDonald's deliveries, but if something pops up, you got to take it. You got to take that delivery, because if you decline it, you don't know when it could be another 30, 45 minutes before you get another one, and that's time wasted, and you're not, you have to take the opportunity when it arrives, or you're not going to be able to make a living, to make money, to satisfy the financial hunger. Now, when I was in Indianapolis yesterday doing the Uber Eats, I was kind of still in that same mindset, but I realized real quick that, wait, this is a different scene here. There's more options here. I don't have to accept every delivery if I don't like the restaurant or like this or this style of food. I don't want, once again, support obesity. I don't have to accept every offer that comes along, because I'm in a more populous area with more options. Therefore, I don't have to take everyone. I can wait for something that's more moralistically correct, and then I can accept. So it's a weird analogy what I just gave you there with the Uber deal, but it's almost very true. In this dirt track racing world, and I've talked with this back to private, telling it like it is, I've talked to several race cars, some successful, very, very attractive to female audience people, and it's hard for them to find a girl. It's hard for them to even find someone they think is, on their, and I agree with them, on their level of success, visual appearance, at a racetrack, at a dirt track. It's almost impossible. They're not in the grandstands. They're not in the grandstands most of the time. And if there is, you better take the delivery. But it does level up a little bit when you start looking across the aisle at the dude who got the girl from outside the racing world and brought her in. It's a little, at least you got the option. Accept the delivery. Accept the delivery. This is the only chance. So that was something that I was thinking as I was experiencing this at Indy, and experiencing this, honestly, doing the deliveries last night. It was like, wait, this is very similar here. And then back to the relevance of the sport. The relevance of the sport to cause a deprived situation for these potential superstar drivers who want to live like a rock star, but we just don't have the food to provide that hunger. Whereas in a normal scenario, when societal awareness is there, like I experienced at the Indy 500, you don't have to have these kind of immoralistic situations to occur to be a superstar driver and have that hunger fed. I know that's fucked up, but it is fucked up. All of it's fucked up. Like I said, I still think moralistic boundaries should be involved in what's occurring or what had occurred or could occur next week or whatever. Shouldn't be happening. But if you got a fucking superstar driver like we do in the dirt world, shouldn't that guy be living like a rock star? Shouldn't that be an option if that's who he wants to be? I'm just saying, guys. I'm just saying. So, back to who's ever run the dirt world, you're letting some of these superstar drivers down, in my opinion. In my opinion. Now, some of these dirt world guys are smartening up. I'll tell you that right now. Some of these guys are smartening up. Some of these guys have went to, and maybe another reason why they go to NASCAR and leave too. It's not just they want the money. They want some status enough for them to not have to do those things to eat, I guess. And one of the things that, speaking of eating, we got somebody who ate yesterday, or Sunday, sorry. Somebody who ate very well. And that person who ate very well was Kyle Busch, ladies and gentlemen. Kyle Busch ate him a knuckle sandwich straight from the ghettos of Memphis, Tennessee, the ditch, Riverside. And we're talking about one Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. stood up to Kyle Busch. And look at the intensity in his eyes right here. This is the scenario that happened. Watch the intensity. Look at him. He's like, you know it's coming. Now, I thought it would have been a little quick. We've all seen Tony Stewart throw a punch. It was all, we saw that the incident, I believe, happened at Jackson a few years ago. Tony Stewart just, pow. It's quick out of nowhere. I would say, obviously it's an intense moment, but Ricky Stenhouse did telegraph that punch pretty harshly. I'm surprised. Busch did kind of actually see it coming. You can see Busch kind of turn his cheek right before the punch landed, and I think that's because of the telegraph. If y'all know what telegraphing means, when you want to throw a punch, you try to move your shoulders as least as possible, because if you can move your arms, they kind of can't see the punch coming, and that's how you can really land a solid one. But Ricky Stenhouse Jr., like I said, intense moment. He obviously apparently trains MMA and all that. He has very, I believe Cowboy Cerrone is one of his best friends. They train a little bit. But this was still good. Obviously we've learned Kyle Busch's reflexes when it comes to fighting is kind of low end. But you can see here, as the video repeats, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. once again, it kind of does. We see his shoulder kind of move right. See, you could see it all just coming. But he still got him. He still got him very well. Like I said, a straight up ghetto ass, Memphis the ditch, we're going to whoop your dirt tracker style, punched his ass in the jaw. Ladies and gentlemen. And then Kyle Busch couldn't even handle his daddy over here. This is apparently Ricky Stenhouse's daddy who was getting Kyle Busch off him. But I'll tell you what, the one man chew of the situation, and Kyle Petty said that he wouldn't want to fight today's world because these pit crews are ex-football players. That dude in the green and black, I don't think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is going to hit that dude. And this is what I was talking about when I get in these deals with the sprint car world and all these people. I'm like, I ain't worried about the driver. I'm worried about these tire changers. You go down the pit roads at some of these sprint car events, late model events, you ain't got to worry about it because the drivers are huge guys, But sprint car racing, the drivers have to be these little small guys and stuff for, performance aspects, it seems to be. But in the sprint car world, if you keep walking long enough, pretty much almost every pit has one guy who's kind of like 6 foot to 6'3". Little, he could be skinny, he could be big, he could look like this guy here. And that's kind of like the enforcer of the gang there. That's kind of like the guy. And that guy, apparently, they got those they got him at every point in the NASCAR pitting area. But then you got some little guys like these blue shirts. Look at these blue shirts just getting tossed around. I don't know if these are engineers or what. But that green and black right there, that's a tough one. That right there is a tough one. You don't want to get caught in a back alleyway with that guy. If that guy's coming at you, there ain't no telegraphing going to save your ass. The only thing going to save your ass is if you know how to, kick some knees in or something. You got to start, especially if you're Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s height, you probably can't even reach his damn jaw. That dude's pretty tough. I'll tell you that. That guy's pretty stout. Now, the interesting part about all this video is that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has apparently sold T-shirts left and right now. I guess it's like the number one selling T-shirt of the last 2 days or something like that. So it's an interesting situation that has occurred here with NASCAR. They obviously have fined, I guess now, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I'm not going to go into the fines, but I've heard a lot of people bitch and complain, oh my God, they promoted the fight so much and they still fined him. This is so much BS. See, this is the problem when you people become biased. See, when Bubba Wallace slapped Kyle Larson all over the front straightaway at Vegas, y'all wanted him banned for the season. They played that video everywhere too. They clipped that and sent it out everywhere when Bubba Wallace, just pushed Larson around like the freaking guy on the tailgate did to these other crew members. Y'all wanted him gone for the year, banned from NASCAR. Oh my God, this is back to the prejudice. This is back to that underlining undertone, I guess, unself-aware biasness that a lot of you people have. You want Ricky Stenhouse to be cheered and celebrated across the world. and are upset that he's going to get got a fine or whatever, this, that, and the other. But when Bubba Wallace doesn't punch Kyle, pushes him around over Kyle doing something to him that everybody kind of is upset about, y'all wanted him gone forever. He got punished. He got in trouble. They played the video just as much. They got the numbers out there. So what's up with the double standard? The only standard that I've heard that makes any kind of sense to me on if he should be in trouble or not is this was the All-Star race, an exhibition race, or a non-points NASCAR event. So how, should this affect his regular season, all that, and all the this, that, and the other. But anyway, the double standard of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. celebrated. Can't believe they're fining him. Look at, they used all the clips and all this stuff to make rounds, etc. But you wanted Bubba Wallace gone forever. Bubba Wallace lost the race. Bubba Wallace had fines. All these things. So just, and this is where I get so mad at biases. Like, come on. You got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and self-reflect. And if you want fairness, then go after fairness. That's the situation. That is the situation. And speaking of fairness, we're just going to jump right into this. I had other topics, but we got Dirt Tracker's ass on the screen here. And this video that he put out, and we are switching subjects. If you want to go watch something about Stenhouse, go watch something else. That's fine. I like Stenhouse. He's cool. He's helping, Hod and Shout, I guess, with the race team stay on the road. Regardless, go watch somewhere else at this point. We've all seen the clip. That's my comments on the situation. Now, this son of a bitch. I'm just kidding. I do like Justin Fiedler. He has a position, guys. I know y'all are mad at, y'all go after him sometimes, call him a shill. Justin Fiedler is, Scott Van Pelt for ESPN. Or as somebody else has told me, he's an aggregator. He takes everything that's happened and tells you about it. Does a really good job. Very successful on YouTube, does everything correctly, has an opinion every now and then. That's like I say, Scott Van Pelt, the Chaz, like Donnie Schott says, you're like the Joe Rogan of dirt, or some people said Pat McAfee, or Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, or even like some people say Alex Jones when we get into the conspiracy stuff, which conspiracy's easily able to be found, especially in a sport that is monetarily supported. So you can find, dots and connect them almost easily because they're factual. It just makes more sense. They're not trying to hide it as much as like the real political world with what Alex Jones goes into. But I don't know why y'all hate on Dirt Tracker so much. I really don't. I make jokes from time to time because it's fun. It's awesome. He is the leader of the pack when it comes to dirt media on YouTube, for sure. We have our spurts from time to time that get more out there. And, I get on here and I guess, and some people become more authentic, call this out, call that out. That's not what Dirt Tracker does. That's not what he does. Now, he does go and research and get things here and there and has a point. He had a great opinion on the IRA event that happened at Angel Park. That was great. That was awesome. But with this, and this is where it does, and this is, I'm not going to go full conspiracy, but this is when it does feel slightly biased or some kind of motive. And I know some people saw it and I got phone calls over it. The opinion on this, and it seems like a notion, like in the real world, we've all seen the commercial where or the YouTube video or Facebook clip or short or reel or whatever, where it shows like all the news outlets across the country. It starts a sentence in like Chicago, and then the next sentence is in Dallas, and the next sentence is in Iowa, and then the next sentence is in New York, and then LA, and it shows, and then at the end it pulls back and it shows all the local news outlets saying the exact same thing, almost word for word, like a script. And it's like, holy shit. Like all of the news on this TV is just all under the same script. And it's pushing a notion to you so that everyone in the public eye believes it. And this isn't a conspiracy theory. We've all seen this video, I believe, that I'm talking about, where all the local news outlets were reciting the same thing word for word to everyone in society on this TV screen that we, for some reason, believe like it's God or something, and it's only been around for 100 years. We're such a baby when it comes to the television screen and it being truthful or not, especially when we know for a fact it was owned by the matriarch oligarchies kind of thing. So it's very weird on how much we believe these screens, especially the bought and paid for ones that make a living on the, once again, the oligarchies. But at the end of the day, there was this notion with Brad Sweet here of, it went from, and I got phone calls about this. Everybody I talked to, and even on my show, nobody ever thought Brad, and this is what I saw him do. It's what I saw Jeremy Elliott do. Pretty much every post I saw people send me screenshots of Chase Rodman. Nobody in their right mind believes that Brad, first of all, let me just say this. Nobody believes that Brad Sweet was cheating or was underweight. Nobody. Nobody has that problem. Nobody thinks Brad Sweet, at the scale situation that I'm referencing, nobody believes he was cheating. But they do sit back and say, if that was any other race team car, that would be like the end of the world or something. Like everyone would, like somebody said, if that happened at Williams Grove, you would have, the Beer Hill gang tearing the facility down. If it was like, say it was Freddie Raymer or something that did that. You think GEETROIT fans are going to just go silently into the night? You think Danny Dietrich is going to be like, yeah, all right, yeah, big mistake, guys. Yeah, I know it happens. No, it doesn't. No one's ever seen that in their life. I talked to a former crew member of Brad Sweet, off in NASCAR world now, back to status and normalcy. He's never seen it in his life ever either. So confirmed, I guess, that Brad Sweet never did this on the Outlaw Tour. Our interview with David Gravel, never seen it before in his life. And it's not really about a pass or giving a favoritism. It's just, obviously, it's a tricky situation where I'm assuming those three people, or at least those two people in the competition director and Brad Sweet, are in very close connection. Like they have a relationship in some way. It's hard to not have that relationship where this is your boss and he's right there. Boss, you're not going to cheat. And I don't think anyone does, but in that, or anyone does think he's cheating, but in that scenario, you have to also look at everybody and say, you're my boss and you're racing. We have to overtech this situation. We have to make sure this is a cookie cutter. And we sure as hell can't have a scenario like that ever happen. And it was a mistake. I get it. But I don't think that mistake happens ever unless it is employee with boss. And if that situation ever does happen ever, we have a big fucking problem. Does everyone not remember the Tyler Courtney, Tony Stewart, Cody Jacobs scenario at Eldora Million last year where they were going at it on the pit road? What was that about? Does anyone remember? Oh, that was about Sunshine passing the scales a little bit, slamming on the brakes. Oh shit, I passed him. Like 20 feet, wasn't that very far, and they were pushing him back to make him go to the scales. Cody Jacobs goes out there, pissed off as shit, like, hold on, DQ that son of a bitch. He passed the scales. Oh, no, y'all gonna let him come back? Oh, this is me paraphrasing, but this is what I believe that argument was over. It's like, no, he just passed the scales, buddy. We're competing for $1 million. DQ that son of a bitch. Back to the point, that's what that was over in a competitive element environment. You pass the scales, you get DQ'd, and if you go to your pit stall, technically you get DQ'd. If you miss the scales, you go to the back, you're disqualified. Because to get that scale mark officially registered is a disqualified or pass qualification situation. So if that type of scenario is even happening or gets close, there's a fight with the crew chief and Tony Stewart on pit road, getting close to that same scenario occurring. But even if you're a competitor, what are you going to say to the boss? Because technically in this situation, that's what Brad Sweet is to all the high limit racers as well, not just the competition director. He's the boss. He's the runner or one of the runners, directors of the series. So that's what everybody has a problem with. It ain't that they think Brad Sweet was cheating. It's the nepotism of the situation. It's because of who it is, it was okay. Or it was being passed off, or everyone on their screens ignores that part about how bad it was, or ignores that part about, and not everyone ignored how bad it was, but kind of, it seemed like media gave that mistake a pass and just focused on, I can't believe y'all think Brad Sweet's cheating. Like, that was the notion. It was like deflect one subject to focus on the other. You know, it was very, very interesting how that happened. And that, back to politics, have a dispute over here and exchange money on this side of the situation. But regardless, everybody was kind of upset about the Brad Sweet favoritism in that scenario. Nepotism, favoritism, because who he is, this is okay. Because who this is, he can't be cheating, and they just attack everybody who's upset about it happening. And we've talked about this before. If there is a close car-ish that could be receiving the sweet treatment, on the Outlaw side, it could potentially be David Gravel. Obviously, sponsored by Husitz, who's going to have one of the biggest outlaw races of the year, Dirt Vision track. We see a lot of the connections in the corporatist-based departments. You know, that's the corporatist-based departments there. The relation with Brad Sweet, high limit competition director. These are all businesses that are correlating to allow that situation to happen. So what could be a similar one? And a lot of people always said David Gravel. Now, we got a comment down here from a situation that did happen at Sharon, and I know I'm about to lose. I'll never be able to do a GoPro on David Gravel's car again after this scenario, but it's true. It's real. It's true. It's real. Like, we had the situation with Gio at Attica, which, by the way, I went to Attica, great race, amazing racetrack. Loved Attica. I was really looking forward to Sharon. It didn't slick off, go New York slick. I like that style of racing. I think it kind of hurt the racing, but if this doesn't happen, maybe the racing's a little bit better at Sharon. Now, back to what I was saying. I'm all about fairness, merit, and calling a spade, as Donnie would say. And I was talking to Cody about that called caution at Attica at Sharon Saturday. And Gio went up into the competition director department and was pretty upset because he lost like 10 plus spots in the scenario. And I was like, or he was kind of joking and said, you should have applied for that job. I was like, well, if it was me as competition director, the one thing you got to do is if Gio comes up in there and is mad about a call you made, you got to say, fuck you. He goes, really? Why would you do that? I was like, when you're in that role, man, you have to be firm on your decisions, and whatever reason you had to call that caution. Now, here's the problem. A lot of people don't like to say what they actually did. A lot of people don't like to say, I called that caution because we needed to get a lap in. Sorry. Which that seemed to be the general notion based on our David Gravel interview, that there had been so much of a time frame from getting one lap in that they kind of let that car come to a stop and threw a caution to get a lap in. It had been so long because the race was lasting forever. And if you're a competition director and you make that call and a driver comes up bitching, why did you do that? You can't be saying, oh, well, we didn't know he was rolling around the track for so long or something. We didn't know. What are you talking about? Just like there's another scenario right now where basically we just caught I helped a person catch a cheater. And instead of the cheaters coming out and saying, well, we did it, I'm sorry, they're, oh, no, this guy and that guy and this person did this and that person. No. Gio comes up, you make that call on Friday, and the real reason, let's just say the real reason is to get a lap in. You no excuses. You say, all right, well, this is why I did it. Fuck you. You didn't like it. You lost 10 spots. Sorry. We need to get a fucking lap in. Bam, done. At least the truth's on the table. And the truth is what's going to earn you respect in the competitive element. That's how you don't play favorites. That's how you get respect between your peers in that competitive element as well. is drawing it down the line. Spades are spades. White is black. There is no room for gray areas in competitive sports. That's why referees are white and black stripes. Anyway, we're going to continue here. In this comment of the Dirt Trackers video where he's, oh, Brad Sweet's not cheating, the whole notion, and he did say, this mistake's horrible, can't happen, yeah. I just felt like everybody's giving it a pass. People should be a little more harsh on this scenario. But I think there's a lot of sympathy for High Limit Brad and Kyle, and it's probably because of Kyle Larson syndrome. Regardless, this is a comment that happened, and I've received several messages and phone calls over this scenario as well, and we're going to get into it. This was a comment on that video about High Limit in the scale situation, or that was a part of his video. The commenter says, Justin, you called out High Limit for officiating last week, but you failed to mention the debacle with David Gravel at Sharon. David Gravel biked the front wheels so bad and was in the process of losing several positions, and even Johnny Gibson commented on it. And because the outside pole driver was not a World of Outlaw regular, they called off the start and gave David Gravel his pole back. I didn't say this part. His car owner also owns tracks that host over 10% of the World of Outlaw schedule, 6 at Huset's, 2 at Jackson. And Huset's has streaming deals with Dirt Vision. That's much worse than the High Limit deal. I don't think that is worse. I think it is less of an, still there is a corporatism connection there, like he's saying, but I do think that's not as connected as Brad Sweet and High Limit. I mean, it's the owner of the damn series. So I wouldn't say that that's much worse than the High Limit deal. That's not true. But there is a connection there, and that's where they're drawing the line. Now, I had several people message me. One guy, one fan, I guess, took some video from the grandstands of this start. Now, what they're debating here is on the start of Sharon. Cy Lynch is starting on the outside front row. David Gravel starting on the pole. Now, on this initial start that I'm about to play you, the notion is that you're going to see Cy Lynch get a hell of a launch. But the notion is Cy Lynch didn't get on the throttle before David Gravel took off for his initial start. When David Gravel jumps onto the throttle, the notion is that his front wheels come off the ground. Once he jumps on the throttle, Cy Lynch does too, but David Gravel's front wheels come off the ground and land, and he had to get out of the throttle, and the top row just flies by. Cy Lynch goes into 1 and 2 as your lead car, and they throw the caution on the premise that Cy Lynch jumped the start. But that's not what people are seeing. They're seeing that David Gravel went. Outside pole car went. David Gravel made an error, and the Outlaws saved him. That's what they're seeing. So here's the initial start that we're talking about here. Kind of hard to see. You see, what this one is. This is it right here. I think, right? Oh, wrong one. Oh, wrong one. Hold on. We can save this. Hold on. Let's see here. Yeah, this is the initial start right here. Now, Cy Lynch is on the outside, David Gravel on the inside, and look for the 2 car to initially go. Cy Lynch does roll ahead, but watch for David Gravel to go, but pull the front wheels up off the ground and have to lift, and that's why Cy Lynch gets such a jump. You see him rolling there? Gravel goes, but you see the dip of the nose. Let's see this again from this angle. You see Gravel, Cy Lynch rolls. Gravel jumps, but the front wheels come off the ground. He hinders up the inside lane. This big, giant jump that it looks like Cy Lynch gets because he went early looks to be because of the front wheels lifting off the ground here. But they call this back, punish Cy Lynch, and put Gio Scelzi onto the front row. Which, if David Gravel continues here, he's going to be in 4th coming off of turn 2. Is it just an easy win like he had in Sharon if he has to pass a few cars to get it done? Now, this is the next start here. Or wait, hold on. This is the next start here, and you see David Gravel go, but not lift the front wheels and maintain the point of the field. Now, unfortunately, for me And once again, love Cody Jacobs, love David Gravel. Unfortunately, I have GoPro footage from the 2 car. It was a last-second decision. Hey, David, can I throw it on the car? It'll probably be the last time ever because of this. Because we actually have the GoPro footage from the David Gravel car to tell if we can see the cars and see if Cy Lynch goes before him or if David Gravel jumps on the throttle to go and then Cy Lynch goes. So here is the one of one. This is the one of one David Gravel onboard footage here. So you see this is the initial start. Cy Lynch is to your right. You see him roll ahead. David Gravel goes to go, man. Let's look at this front nose. You see him roll ahead, but that's not consistent as a jump. He would have had to kept going there. David Gravel, that's kind of what Gravel wants to bait him into doing is when you're that pole driver, and a lot of people do this if you've watched sprint car racing, they do it a lot. A lot of iRacers do this crap all the time. You want that outside car to kind of feel like, oh, shit, I'm a little too ahead. And then you want to go because that makes him get out of the throttle to let you catch back up so he doesn't jump. But in that process, you just go because you know that he's lifted. And so that's similar to what you see happen here. It's just when he goes, the front end comes off the ground. And we have the audio. I mean, let me be quiet so you can hear the motor. You can definitely hear that David Gravel jumps out of the throttle after initially starting, after initially going. See the roll? Has to jump out of it, and that's what caused the delay. And why Cy Lynch, Carson Macedo, and Gio Selzy are in front of him going into 1 and 2. This is it, guys. It is true. Now, once again, judgment call. Is this as bad? As not scaling a car? No. If you're a typical World of Outlaw official and you just see Cy Lynch have 4 car lengths on your pole sitting car into 1 and 2 and 2 other cars gone from your 3 other as you get into 1 and 2, 3 rows in front of David Gravel are into 1 and 2. If you just see that, wouldn't you assume, oh, we got to call that back, jump start? I even assumed it. I remember being in turn 2. I was filming the race. I was like, they're not going to let that go. No way. But back to the power of instant replay. We're able to sit here and see and digress and see exactly what happened. We're able to see that drone, catch them. Obviously, I mean, it was good that they got caught, but the guys in the tower ain't able to see this. If I was competition director, I probably would have called this just based on the visuals. I probably would have been like, oh, no way, 3 cars? And how did 3 rows just jump? No, that's not fair. No, that's not a fair start to the race, no matter how it happened. Now, apparently Johnny Gibson, he's got his little replay screen there so he can see it. Competition director probably should as well. And if that was Saul, then you need to be like, wait, no, Cy Lynch is not going to be punished because here's what else we have. Pay attention to how this race started here. But also pay attention to how this one goes because this is the restart with Gio Selzy on the outside. You'll probably see Gio go out a little bit, see, and then you want to gun it. So, and no jumping of the car. Nothing happens here where the front end comes off the ground. This is what David Gravel wanted to happen the initial start. Let the outside car get a little, gun it, and then you almost guarantee yourself the lead car going into 1 and 2. Typical restart strategy. Trying to let that car kind of slow up to wait so he doesn't get in trouble for being ahead of you and then going. Just right here when he jumps on the throttle, the front end doesn't come off the ground and he has to lift because if you lift, the other guy's gone. So this is, if people want to get mad and say corporatism, and once again, you can't, if you're going to be the Husitz car and have all this visual, public-eyed kind of connection with dirt visions and all these things, and you're going to be the headline driver of the series, it's almost, You have to overanalyze this car. You almost have to give it that Brad Sweet discipline, because this is just like that scenario with the scales. It's not as bad. I still think the scales, I've never seen that before. Have I seen a jump start be incorrectly called and it was actually the pole car who did it and they punished the wrong guy? I've seen that before. I've seen the outside guy get screwed on the initial start. We all probably have seen that. So as unfair or as BS as this may look to some of you high limit people, this has happened in racing history. I've never seen a car just be waved on by the competition director and nobody knows what anything was officially, and that's okay. We've never seen a car be teched weight-wise by its own crew member. It's never happened. So that one's way worse than this, but this is still bad, guys. This is still bad. And I hate to say that we got the GoPro footage to really nail the coffin with the motor and everything. I mean, once again, you can hear the differences here. You can hear the motor, when he goes, how he lifts. And then obviously you have the other comparison to how it should have went. This is what was planned. This was the official checking the scales right here. Bam, gone. Now, once again, driver error. Is it driver error? You notice how in this one, when he goes to get on the gas, he's a little farther up the track. He's not down there in the gum like he was over here. He's a little lower. It looked like he was a little lower on the track where he guns it here. Not much, but just a little. He was down there near the tires. Whereas on this one, he made sure to stay up a little bit. Now, obviously Gio didn't push him down, but he's about a half car length higher in the corner there when he's making that jump. Now, once again, still not worse than the scales. But if the Outlaws have a scenario where, I've heard a lot of people say, high limit, you gotta really do everything P and Q with this 49 because of this worry. I think if you're the Outlaws, you almost have to do the same style of due diligence with this 2 car. Especially now after this was being pointed out by several people. Like I said, I had calls, everything in the sorts. But anyways, what is the chat saying? This could be bad. What is the chat saying? Oh my God. Why don't you put GoPro on David's car more often? He usually has like 10 of them on there. Clavell told you he screwed up. Okay, I don't know when he said that. I didn't talk to him after the race. Not mad about the caution. It looked bad. If that would have been at a dirt track, somebody would have really got an ass whipping. Larson is the GOAT. Chaz is 100 times more entertaining, though. That's why I watched them both. I guess that's about dirt tracker or something like that. Now, before we get out of here, we are just close to an hour's time. And actually, we're probably gonna wait on it. I do have a topic to talk about, and I don't know. Do we want to just get on here and bitch, guys? Do we want to get on here and bitch? I don't really want to yell right now, but this is very, very true, and I guess I'll have to say it. This was a bad comment. That this is the number one issue in motorsports right here. And this is what most people in society think. It says, I feel most IndyCar drivers can win in NASCAR and especially in a sprint car where the talent is not as high as upper levels of racing. This comment got plenty of comments. I sat here and said, dirt racing must combat the general public who think this way. I said, thanks, ESPN and media companies. Once again, the TV who tells us what is and what ain't. Thanks, ESPN, for just such a trash perspective that is solely believed because of your inability to properly present motorsports to America. I'm trying to pass it off as some of our guys are just not so stupid to not push it to the world, to not take that initiative, to not just worry if Kyle Larson goes out there and promotes the sport, to actually go out there and tell the world how great our guys are. There's a lot of comments in here. I see a lot of people ego stroking Kyle. Of course, Kyle's so amazing. Kyle's so great. Guys, the only issue with the Kyle Larson scenario, I think we get into it down here. We're talking about race cars and things like this. And Kyle Larson and NASCAR does this on purpose. I say the problem with Larson is they view him as the graduate from dirt racing and everyone else is just not that good. Or they would be where he is in NASCAR. You know, this is a very, very true statement. You know, this is how they use a Larson. This is why they always bring up a kid from dirt. They never bring in men from dirt because it's all about making a sprint car look like this high school level vehicle. And the ones who go to NASCAR are like the ones who are good enough. And everyone left behind are just lower level in talent, just lower level. Now, I could sit here and scream and be really mean, but Kenny Wallace says I'm too mean. So even though he went on, you know, I would believe Kenny. I believe that I'm maybe sometimes mean, but I'm very passionate because the level of disrespect this sport gets by society and these people, like I just said, the scheme I just told you about, there's a reason you don't see older men get in NASCAR. It's to instill that pro level mentality. People don't go to the NFL at 34. They go to the NFL at 20 to 27 years old, or NBA, or any of the pro levels. So that's why it's always these young little kids that are going there, no matter what form of motorsports they're coming from. It has to be that younger age to instate that pro mentality. You might get a Ross Chastain or somebody who's worked their whole life, and they'll try to play that off as like a Kurt Warner or something from arena football. It's all to discredit everything else as a non-pro level. And I studied marketing enough. That's why I get upset about it and go off on the topic. I did have a really good write-up about it. I believe it's right here, because this guy says I'm an idiot or something like that, just like the chat guy. He's saying this guy's just, he does exactly what I do, put down another form of motorsport. It's unnecessary. I said, no, they're talking out of their ass with little no knowledge. Them. I said, when I make, and this is a big Kyle Larson fan, just stroking Larson's ego. And Larson does hurt the sport. This is why late models are so far ahead. Because when you walk through the pitting area at a late model event, they're Kyle Larsons to the fan base. But we don't have that. All of our pitting area is like second fiddle for some reason to Kyle. I call it a co-trickle effect. It changed the icon of the sport back in the day from a Steve Kinser to a NASCAR driver from sprint car racing. And it's our stars ever since then have been Gordon, Stewart, Kane, now Larson, Bell. It's a manipulation of our fan base. I wish people would understand this. I continued here, and this is my addressment to the Larson fans, and I do think he does good, but here's really how they play it with the TV screen that tells everybody what to think. When I make my points, I come with facts, truth, and apparently too much common sense for your ass to handle. I'm always being a smart ass. Larson's example hurts the sport. His example is used by them to make people think he is the one of the very few good enough to graduate from sprint car racing. And everyone else here is the not good enough guys. Why do you think people know what sprint car racing is? Maybe because of him. Kyle Larson has got sprint car racing out there. It's everywhere. But also think the drivers aren't as good as those in NASCAR / lower level. Maybe because of where he came up from. Back to the leveling system. This is why it's about Corey Day now. And that's why Buddy Kofoid's too old or whatever. It's that simple, dumbass. Get over your grown man fandom and open your eyes to marketing. This is how they do it, in my opinion. This is how they do it. Not like the song, This Is How We Ride. This is how we do, but this is how they ride, and this is how they do. So it's a very disrespectful tendency, I think, and a lot of people need to wake up to this ideology, this idea of the situation. First of all, super late models on dirt, number one, because they just have too many competitors. That's why I made my comment that it's harder to win the World 100 than it is the Indy 500. Hell, it's harder to win the Knoxville Nationals or Kings Roll than the Indy 500. The Indy 500 only has about 5 or 6, maybe 7 cars that can maybe win the race. And really, it's only about 3 or 4. Penske, Ganassi, this Larson thing, he's running well in the McLaren, but the McLaren is almost like Ganassi for him in the NASCAR years. he was in a good car. He could maybe win a race, but he wasn't in the elite category of vehicles. We're going to have that talk show tonight with the IndyCar insider and get down to the nitty gritty of who is what and how. But that's what it looks like to me based on what I saw, because Kyle Larson's one of the greatest race car drivers in America. I just think there's some other guys out there that are as well. And just because they're not IndyCar drivers and not or NASCAR drivers doesn't mean shit. Just because you didn't have multi-millions of dollars to invest to go into NASCAR, it doesn't make you a less talent. But people believe this. This is society. This is why I get mean, as the liar of Kenny Wallace says. And when I say liar, like I said, if Kenny Wallace just would have said, hey, I think you're mean and he's too mean and he gets too upset and mad and yells or something, I would have been okay with that. But when he started making up lies about how I talked about him and I told him I have to talk about him to get numbers, and Kyle Steffens set me down. That liar, pants on fire. Don't respect him anymore at all. But if I get mean to some of you people and you don't know why, it's because I started getting mean when Brian Clausen died and he only got 45 seconds on ESPN. Out here in these race cars that are harder to drive against more competition than any of y'all's asphalt rich people series is. And you never hear, and even his fiance said afterwards, and all these people started coming to the t-shirt trailer and buying her t-shirt or Brian Clausen t-shirts after he died. She said, I just wish these people were here when he was alive, winning races and racing. You know what? I do too. Why do we lack the respect of society? And why are we okay with it? Why are we being, I think, too nice and quiet in the dirt track racing world? But all these media entities, in my opinion, are just out there playing nice, hopefully hoping to trickle down some of the money into their mouth that comes from the big daddy on top of all the motorsports industries. Because you could talk bad about this guy or that guy, but the daddies on top with all the money had this trickle down umbrella of funding. And if you talk about one thing, you're talking about him, and his protector with all of his money won't feed you anymore. The guy who puts food in the bowl for his dogs is going to skip on you. And that's why I think some people are too nice, because they're just out there trying to eat. So I don't blame them in the business sense, but in the moralistic merit, a meritocracy sense, the respect department, it's ridiculous. So I think more people in dirt track racing need to be a little more mean and speak up. Those who have a voice, maybe turn a few dollars away and stop letting the Chaz be the only guy over here telling the world the fucking truth. Because I think, once again, as I said on this show the other day, there's money over here on one side and there's truth on the other in this racing world. At least that's how it seems. And I'm the one, some bitch, over here asking for public funding, because it's just like the political world. It's just like the political world. You can either sign up with the super PACs and start preaching a narrative and do what the corporations tell you over here with the money, or you can tell the truth and none of that money is going to hit your side. Oh no, you're against the clique. The clique is the money industry, the corporatism of the situation. And they have a narrative they want to push. Or they have a narrative they want you to be nice about. Meanwhile, people are out here dying getting 45 seconds on ESPN. David Gravel's risking his fucking life every weekend. So is Brad Sweet. And this is why these guys deserve respect, too. This is why I get upset about this stuff more than I do about a damn scale missing or a jump start. The David Gravels, the Brad Sweets, your favorite race car driver in a sprint car, especially a sprint car at your dirt track, is risking his fucking life every weekend, racing one of the most extreme race cars in the world against the most competitive. We can factually base this up based on the backgrounds of these drivers in their series and ours, against a more competitive field. So he's in one of the most highest level formed of motors, or highest forms of motorsports in the world. Not in the payment department, obviously, but in the competitive element department. And nobody knows who the fuck he is. And he thinks these IndyCar and NASCAR drivers can just jump the fuck over and whoop his ass. That's what society believes. Maybe because some people have the money to get on that TV and tell everybody what is and what ain't. And that's why I get mad and upset at them. Or society, I go out and ask society about sprint car drivers and they respond with this. Why do they respond with this? Oh, because that TV's been telling them something their entire fucking life and they believe it. So sometimes in the competitive sport, you got to say, hey, you think that some bitch is the world champion? We got guys over here that eat some bitches like that for lunch. That's how I see it. So any of y'all out there playing nice, you need to recognize how big of a problem this is. This is why you don't have women in the grandstands. And this is maybe also why your women can be taken by someone else because there's not enough food in the bowl in the fan and diversity department. From society, society's not at the racetrack. You know, it's a ridiculous situation that I just feel like too many people are comfortable in. Even the High Limit Series is working on NASCAR welfare in a little bit. I call it NASCAR welfare, where everybody is quiet and hoping to get some NASCAR money. High Limit, Flow, all these kind of have connections with NASCAR now, right? Flow, not as much. I mean, obviously, Kyle, is he bringing NASCAR money over? Is it operating on NASCAR welfare? Is it self-sufficient on its own, or is it being helped along? You know, so let's just understand that this is a bigger issue than promoting your field based on Kyle being there. It's the lack of respect for our sport. And when, in my opinion, when something lacks respect in a completely fabricated ideology-based situation, I get pissed off about it, especially when our guys are on the fucking track risking their lives and could die. And if they don't die tomorrow, the world ain't going to hear about them ever. Sometimes they only know about Brian Clausen and Jason Johnson because he passed away. Oh, yeah, it's that guy that died. Meanwhile, the ones that live and survive the war go unfucking noticed. While these guys get propped up on their damn pedestals running 20th or something. It's just ridiculous, guys. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And back to that point of sprint car and late model drivers being that damn good and better than NASCAR drivers. And NASCAR drivers are better than any. I don't know. Let them fucking figure that out on their own. Back to running 20th. Let me show you a fucking clip. You see who that is on the track? You see who that is, ladies and gentlemen? That's Brandon Sheppard, multi-time World of Outlaw late model series champion who jumped into a fucking sprint car because he's got balls. We know them NASCAR boys ain't going to do that. Hell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. ain't even that damn great in a sprint car. He's got to go to USCS to pick up a fucking win. Now, that is flag football for our industry. But regardless, Brandon Sheppard's first qualifying laps on the board. Who's on the board here? Kofoid, Gravel, Macedo, Chase Randall, Axum. All these guys 10 times better and more riskier than you people. But you know who Brandon Sheppard out-qualified? He out-qualified in his first fucking late model or sprint car attempt a graduate. Somebody who most people think is just so much better than our guys because he graduated to the next level. Brandon Sheppard qualified 17th behind Donnie Schatz and 4 positions ahead of current NASCAR Series Cup driver Chase Briscoe. And this Chase Briscoe, somebody, Kevin Briscoe's dad, we're in Indiana right now. Years and years of sprint car experience, but he's the graduate, right? He's what this guy is referring to. But Brandon Sheppard, a damn late model driver, because I do think late models have more competition because the money has been put into late model racing. You get that? The money ain't been put into kids trying to make it to NASCAR like us with our developmental midget teams and all this other shit. Just trying to get the next open wheel guy to NASCAR. How much money do you need? The millions and millions of dollars of late model racing over the years hasn't been going to trucks and stuff for your dirt racers. It's been going to late model teams. So they got 80 fucking cars at the World 100 funded just as much as the next. That's why their fields are so deep. The money's been operating properly in their industry. Their superstars is Brandon Sheppard. This is Kyle Larson for them. This is a star. It ain't second tier stars like Larson to gravel or Larson to sweet or whatever co-trickle it is this era. 20 years ago, or Tony Stewart to Donnie or something. They're not second tier stars to any NASCAR drivers. So the money is invested into the stars. But regardless, back to this point, we got damn late model drivers that could jump in a sprint car and go 4 spots better than your Cup Series drivers. Larson's an entity on its own. Larson's a sprint car driver in NASCAR and IndyCar. I would say that Chase Briscoe is, but you think with his experience, he would have been a little quicker. We all know that if a regular Cup driver or IndyCar driver got into a sprint car, it would be a whole nother story. I was thoroughly impressed, however, a few years ago when Chase Elliott got into a sprint car. I think he ran 6th against local 360 competition in California. So some of them can make laps. I guess after 10,000 laps, he ran midgets and stuff too at Millbridge for 4 days straight or whatever. So, if they get enough practice, they can. But the world don't see it that way, guys. The world sees it as if, Denny Hamlin was to enter the Knoxville Nationals and they put lines to bet on the table. Denny Hamlin would be the favorite. If it was Kyle Larson versus Dallin Murdy in an IMCA stock car, not a NASCAR stock car, but the other stock cars that have 10 times the competition, probably one of the most competitive divisions in the world. If it was Dallin Murdy, 1-on-1 versus Kyle Larson in an IMCA stock car, who do you think Vegas is going to put the odds on? Who's going to be the favorite in that matchup? Or let's just say it was Dallin Murdy versus Denny Hamlin or any of the top performing Cup drivers. All of them would be favored. It would be like Apollo Creed versus Rocky Balboa in the odds department. But we all know Dallin Murdy would smoke every one of them, including Kyle Larson probably. Destroy him. Absolutely destroy Kyle. The only one who might be able to keep up with Dallin Murdy is Christopher Bell. It's too bad, though. He's got a collar around his neck. Because he's got to eat out of that bowl we've been talking about this entire time. But anyways, they're only having to do that, ladies and gentlemen, because of this right here. Sprint car racing had that awareness and respect. I feel like we could build some grandstands. The sport used to have that. Used to work at Devil's Bowl Speedway down there in Texas and did a lot, as much as I could to help a guy named Lanny Edwards, one of the pioneers of this industry, starter of the World of Outlaws. Help partial funder, partial starter of the Outlaws, partial starter of the Chili Bowl, this event we love so much. And I remember trying to get fans to the stands, and this was before I went on a 2,000-mile journey across the DFW to do personal research. I even went to the front steps of the local ABC News Network because I was so pissed off. Before I started putting it on camera, when I started researching our actual world a little more. And that's pretty much what I've been doing ever since. That's why I travel and go everywhere and talk to normal people, because I want to know more about society and how it thinks and why things happen the way they do. It's not just nobody knows. You can go find out the answers if you do enough personal research. But back to the story, we were at Devil's Bowl and me and Lanny Edwards were standing there and we were talking about how to get fans to the track. He looked, he's like, well, we got to find a damn way. You see these damn grandstands right here? He's getting kind of pissed. Lanny Edwards is known for doing that. It's very funny. If some of these incidents that were happening in sprint car racing happened at Devil's Bowl, there would be like six people fired. You'd at least have a camera of him getting yelled at. But he looked to the stand and he said, you see that grandstand right there? And it was a huge 3 and 4 section that Devil's Bowl had. And he said, I didn't build those damn grandstands because I wanted them. I built them because I fucking needed them. And he was talking about when this sport didn't suffer from cold trickle syndrome and people respect this shit, you can go look up the newspapers of your local area. It said professional auto racing this Friday and Saturday. It didn't say grassroots. It didn't say lower level. It said professional because it was respected. And when society respects you and thinks you can knock some bitches out, they want to come see you swing. They want to see you fight like Ricky Stenhouse did on the racetrack. So back in that day, when racing had respect, dirt racing had respect, late model racing still has it. This is why their local crowds can be pretty big from time to time. But when sprint car racing had respect from society, people showed up every fucking week to watch them. Just your local guys. To the point you had to build grandstands because you needed them to hold the people coming. The actual money, the actual economics of paying a big purse, not streaming and all this shit, but fan attendance. And for some reason, sprint car racing was on this high trajectory all these years and was at this pinnacle in the early 90s, 91, 92. It was bigger than ever, Pennzoils and all this stuff and all these things. And then for some reason, everybody slowly, it stopped becoming cool all of a sudden. For some reason, this rainbow car all of a sudden became the iconic position of the sprint car industry and the respect of all of motorsports. Because back then, all kind of style of motorsports got attention. Indy cars was bigger than NASCAR at the time. But all of a sudden, this NASCAR thing just saturated the market. In 5 to 8 years, they became number one. Then you had Dale Earnhardt Sr. die. Tension went up even more. You had the kart IRL split. At the same time, Jeff Gordon and Dale Sr. were coming along. Although, very interesting. California sprint car driver wanted to go to Indy, ended up going to NASCAR. Sounds like Coe Trickle and Jeff Gordon. But the movie was in 1990, and Jeff Gordon didn't hit Cup till 94. It's supposed to be about Tim Richmond, but the characters look very similar. And I think that changed a lot of things. I think the TV, the movie, the theater changed a lot of things as far as the respect and the iconic position. Even here, David Gravel says he's in the sprint cars because his favorite driver was Jeff Gordon. You know, and a lot of people can say, well, it's always been like that, the people who move up. Well, I don't know about that, guys. I mean, Ken Schrader was in the 25 car back in the 80s. I didn't see no big push for him. He was doing very well in a Hendrick 25 car. Actually took over for Tim Richmond. Interesting. But regardless, this respect factor is why, in my opinion, society is unaware of our sport. And everybody being too fucking nice and not standing up for our guys and telling society how badass they are is second tier in that responsibility and disrespect. And relying on Kyle Larson to be the Jesus Christ of the scenario and save it all is insane. And I'm not sitting here and trying to say I'm saving. I'm trying to say let's all work together and speak the fuck up. So I ain't the one guy on a camera being mean. Could do it diligently if people in their positions would just say something. Kyle does. I don't even blame Kyle. Kyle does all he fucking can with the leash around his neck. He does all he can. I just think there's some other people in media that don't. But that's because I think that they got a leash and chains around their wrists. They are completely, they're not bought and paid for, buddy. You're not bought and paid for. You're fucking sold. Anyway, you're sold. I'm not, though. That's why I can sit here and say what I say. Links in the description to join the support because, yeah, this side of the table where the food doggy bowl's at, I don't get to eat off of that one. I only depend on God and truth on the other side. I could tell you who's on the other side, but I'm kind of confused. Is it lizard people or devil? I don't know. Anyway, let's see comments before we get out of here. Chaz, show us your Tinder matches. See, this is the problem with Spike Fast Racing. He makes no fucking sense. Sprint car drivers are gay. Oh, this is why we need to ban Spike. We're just going to put him in timeout. 24. Oh, 30 minutes. 30 minutes for Spike. Lots of anger from the PA man. I'm not in PA. I'm in Indianapolis. Useless anger. Means nothing. Sports quack. Are you back in PA? Nope. Okay, so more people just running their mouth. And this is what they do. They send in the cavalry. They try to shame you, make you feel bad. They try to I think he meant bike grow the F up. Spike, basically. Has Dirt Tracker chastised the fans today yet? I don't know. He can do what he wants, and sometimes you have to chastise the fans. I put them in timeout. Regardless, this is what they're going to do. They're going to try to shame you, make you feel bad about it. Look at how Kenny Wallace treated me, made up lies, falsified situations that never happened, just to try to make me look stupid, make me look like a inauthentic person, a fabricated individual. But that's what they say. That's what they say up there on that porch. That's what they say on the porch. If not running my mouth, you guys get angry over uselessness. It's not running my mouth. Okay. I don't know. Means nothing. Sports quack. You're right. There is more meaningful things in the world. I do agree with that. Yeah, I do agree with that. But I guess some people just don't like racing. That's fine. 100% on point about all that, Chaz. Thanks, Travis Johnson, for giving a damn. Chaz, will you be at Fremont for Outlaws on Monday? I do not know yet. We'll see. West Coast swing later this year. I would like to. I'm getting interested in this IndyCar thing. I think there is some stuff we can learn from IndyCar. How is the PA Poontang? Lots of large mountain women. I just don't understand. See, and sometimes this is where the sport reflects the fan base. You know how they say politicals and politics, all the arguing in the politics side of the world. It's kind of reflecting society. It's society's fault because they're reflecting on how, destructive the society is. And in a way, I could get mad at the leadership and the falsified people and all this stuff. But when you got the fans of the industry, the society of dirt racing, acting like these people, talking like these people, who wants to give the sport any respect? Look at the society that you're supposed to represent. It's just sad. It's disgusting. At least I'll sit here and tell the truth. At least I'll sit here and say what I say and call out spade to spade once again. But yeah, if the sport's ever going to class up, comments like lots of large mountain women and Tinder matches and all this stuff is sometimes defeating. When I go out here and I push myself to the limits and I work 24/7 and do this and still say no to the money and the falsified statements and say yes to the truth, and then that's the reward is these people, it's pretty sad, man. It's pretty fucking sad. Makes you want to quit. These are the people that make you want to quit and give up on this stuff. But we're going to keep trying for the Travis Johnsons, for the respectful people in the industry. There's good people, David Gravels, for the Brad Sweets, for those who actually do halfway, a little bit believe in the sport. But these people are not worth it. That's why that's why I say it's a fan base issue. We got to get more society involved with the sport because this is the slums we're currently dealing with. Sad, man. It's fucking sad. Why no high limits tonight? The midweek money series is not a weekly series, and I think Kyle's pretty busy with Indy. The daddy of the industry is not available. I believe they're racing Grandview midweek next week, though. Anyway, the YouTube commercials that randomly pop up during lives suck. Well, hey, it's the only way I make a damn. We'll turn ads off if y'all just want to send some cash along the way. I mean, I'm just saying, ads is the only way we get funded here on YouTube. It's not a lot at all. I think this last month was $475 or something like that. Barely enough to pay for the hotel this week. So regardless, links are in the description if you want to support what I'm talking about, what I'm standing for. If you want to support the truth on one side of the table, links are in the description below. Venmo and PayPal, direct support. That's the best way to go about it. And it's very important this week at Indy. A lot of expenses going out, a lot of A lot of things on the line. I'm out here working. We're about to get off here and go to work. And we will be live tonight, though, with our IndyCar Insider live tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Pacific. But I'm going to go out here and work and try to get somewhere with the money department so we can do a lot this week. We are planning on trying to go to the Little 500. Friday night, it looks like we might be at Bloomington, I'm thinking. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's the situation going on. That is what is occurring. Thanks for tuning in to the show today. Hopefully, you liked it. Some of you didn't. It's just what I think. It's not like it's 100% fact. It's just my personal truth, and that's what I get on here and say. And some people agree, some people don't, and some people think it's the only authentic thing going on right now, and that's great. That's great. Those are the people I care about. These race car drivers care about them as well. And we got a lot of a mountain and a hill to climb to get this whole industry to where it needs to be. But it is Indy 500 week. Lots of great things. It's very enjoyable. Took a big deep breath at the qualifying day. It was like, wow, this is fun. This is fun. This isn't spikes and all these Down syndrome situations. And not Down syndrome like the actual people who are affected, but just like the brought downness of some of these people are very, very hard to deal with sometimes. Almost more than the ones taking the money. Some of those people are at least good people. They're just making bad choices due to the influence of money. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in once again. Be sure to subscribe if you have not subscribed. Like the video, share it around. That's just as good as a membership button or anything like that. If you can do some support, definitely the week to do it here at Indy 500 Indianapolis Motor Speedway Week. We're going to be heading out here, like I said, just in a moment to try to do all of it on my own. And that's fine. That's fine. We can do it all on our own. It's just hard sometimes. Makes it harder when you're dealing with some of these disgusting people in the chat. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, Indy 500 Insider tonight. The dirt is rolling out. Stay tuned for that. And hopefully by the end of the week, we might have Paul Tracy on the show. That will be an interesting one. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. We will catch you next time.
Ride anywhere we need to go. We can ride all night up to the morning, as long as we make the show. We can be the best or we can be the worst. We can be the best like you